So here we are against a Mexican player rated 2021, and I was rated 2022 when I started playing against them. They were probably a little bit higher than 2021 at the beginning of the game, but roughly the same sort of level as me. And we had my least favourite opening, d4. I played as I do tend to play, with a classical closed game style d5. And we had a little pawn chain, and now I could have put the bishop, but I didn't. I got ready to bring my knight out to clone the knights, and he saw that immediately as an advantage that he could mess with my structure. One thing that this does is it clarifies the fact that I am not going to castle, probably, on the queen side. The long castle is unlikely now, which helps him as well in a way, but I also have quite a good position for this light squared bishop. And he's getting ready to castle now. I move the knight onto the square that I should have moved it to before. He castles, and then I move the knight here. Now this was a 2-move knight development, and I did this on purpose for reasons, the same reason I always do it, to put my knight on a square that my opponent doesn't expect it to be on, and give it powers that my opponent doesn't expect it to have. This is the Alekhine style of play that I use a lot. I call it chess chaos sometimes. The idea is to get pieces where your opponent doesn't expect them, especially knights, because by moving the knight 2 squares instead of 1 to develop it, you also change its colour. So my knight is now attacking the dark squares. Had I developed my knight onto that normal dark square of f6, then it would be attacking light squares. So that's significant as well, because as you see, I've got my dark squared bishop, I've got my dark squared queen, and I've got my dark squared attacking knight. That is a lot of dark square power. And so I decide I might as well immediately offer to exchange the knights so that I can castle kingside. So we get there like this. And he doesn't like my queen being there. He is surprisingly interested in pushing a pawn onto my queen, which, you know, could mess up his queen a bit. So now I just exchange queens. I decide that actually on this occasion, simplified game is a good thing. And one of the reasons I thought that is because he has castled and I haven't. And actually we are now very close to the end game already, because without the queens, with him only having one knight and one bishop, with these pawns all in disarray, and now we're really close to the end game. So why would I have castled? Indeed, now I put my cards on the table, make it very clear that I'm not castling by putting this rook here, which kind of stops him from doing quite a few things. He does one thing that he can do, and I push the king forward. This is a very, very big mistake. Well, in one way it's a big mistake, and in another way it isn't. In terms of getting to the end game quicker and getting my king in a powerful position in the center of the board quicker, it's not a bad thing to do. But it is a bad thing to do because I block in my bishop, and I didn't see it. I'm busy thinking about my light squared bishop, because now all my powers seem to be sliding along the light squares. I get ready here to push towards his knight without losing pawns, and this move is where I lose my bishop. Very, very silly of me. Very, very silly. Should have realised. Should have taken that pawn that he offered, because now that's it. Bang, bang, and that's the bishop gone. So I decide, well, maybe I can counterattack. You know, maybe. But no, I can't. I can't. He takes it. I recapture, and in fact he's got another pawn he can take for free there. Like that. So all in all, that puts white in an incredibly superior position. But, but, look at how his pieces are organized. His rooks are far from connected, far from connected. His knight is protecting his rook. His bishop is protecting his knight, and his rook is protecting his bishop. It's very odd. And if he moves any of those pieces, that whole thing falls apart. It is odd. It is odd. It's a very fragile structure. He goes to trade off material. That's the right thing to do. He's got 4 pieces, I've got 3. If he trades off a piece, he'll have 3 to my 2. That's a 50% advantage. And I decide to do the one thing that quite often foxes chess players, they often don't know what to do when you do this. They go to take a piece and you just give them the offer of a second version of it. And it is very confusing. It's very difficult to understand what's going to happen and what you can do. I don't know why it is, but it is. And then we go to here. So he chooses the bottom one, and I recapture. He captures the pawn, which is annoying. So we attack the knight. He gives me a check. So kind of lucky I did attack the knight, isn't it? Otherwise he would have done a knight fork there with check. And now I can attack the knight. It can go here. We can get ready to do a check with the bishop. And there it is. And now we can go here. And in fact, I can take that knight with my rook, and he can't recapture because the bishop pins his pawn. So he knows that. That's why he moves the knight here, attacking my bishop. Of course, again, he is happy to take my bishop because then he'll have 2 pieces for my 1. He will have double the pieces. So bishop must come back to here, which is a good place to control the knight from. Hard to believe that he still hasn't activated his rook. He has not yet made anything of his superiority, nothing of it. And do you see what else has happened? Particularly with this movement of the pawn that he just made, his king is in a very, very weak position in terms of my bishop and rook working together on that h1 square potentially. So I come right over ready to do that. And he doesn't seem to even see it, so I decide to sort of push a couple of pawns just to sort of give an illusion. Well, really what I'm hoping is his knight's going to move. That's what I wanted, so that I could then do that. That's what I've been looking for, you see. And you see what a weak position his king's in now. It's unbelievable. What do you do at this point? His knight, although it's moved to allow my bishop to go there, I can't now give a check with the rook, which is a bit annoying. So what can I do? Well, I can come to the other side of the board. Maybe his bishop can get pinned. So he fires one off with the bishop, and I come here. In fact, at this point, if I were here, I would have done this, which would have been pretty horrid. But he didn't. Instead, he attacked the rook with a completely pointless attack, which simply advanced me here to the point where I was going to go all along. And this is absolutely fatal. Absolutely fatal for white. Can you see why this is fatal for white? His king has 2 squares it can go to. It's got the Mickey Mouse ears. Here is very, very bad. Very bad. Because it leads to this. Which is not good. And this, which is even more ungood. So that's that side. What if he takes the other Mickey Mouse ear? Well, in fact, he did. He took the other Mickey Mouse ear. He went up here. What do we have here? We have something equally horrific. We have, do you see it? The windmill. The only square he can move to is there. Bang, revealed check. Rook attacked. Only square he can move to is there. Bang, rook taken, knight pinned. Tries to advance a pawn. I completely ignore it. My bishop's got that covered. I now have his knight. Nothing he can do about it. That's not going to help. He's trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do there. It was a mistake. Big mistake, that move. Because not only does the knight go, but so does the bishop. And so does the pawn. And now I simply put my rook here. He can chase it with his king, but it doesn't matter because my bishop can mark my rook, and the rook is a safe blockade. Now, he does have a slight possibility of stalemate. He does. And I have to watch out for that. But as long as he's got a pawn he can walk up the board, we'll never have stalemate. Now, you know that, don't you? As long as your opponent has a pawn, it will not be stalemate because he can move the pawn. That's a piece he can move. So king comes down. Pawn has to move. Well, it doesn't have to. He could have moved the king. But now, check. Moves here. Now, what do you think of that? Is that stalemate? Yes, it is. That actually is stalemate, which means he must move the pawn. Can't move the king. Must move the pawn. It's still stalemate after my move. Can't move the king. Must move the pawn. And so obviously I'll take it. Bang. And now it's no longer stalemate because the rook has moved off of the square that caused it to be a stalemate. Now I had to do all of this in my head while I was playing. This isn't chance that I knew these things. Okay. Now king moves. And he is hunting for some sort of stalemate type thing. So there we have the opposition, and he's going to break away from it. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. He can attack the rook all he wants, because all I have to do really is go here. Do you see that? He is stuck with one square and one square alone again. It is there. And it's checkmate. So a neat and tidy finish. What were the main advantages that I took? I would say not bothering to castle, coordinating my pieces well, and spotting my opponent's weaknesses, which was his lack of coordinating the pieces. He had a lack of structural chess, I would say, a lack of pattern, a lack of Lasker. And that really comes out later on. But I think what really beat him was the spanking of the windmill. All credit to him to actually play through it rather than just resigning or walking away from the board. He was prepared to sit through it. That's a brutal thing to sit through. So an honourable player from Mexico, and a good lesson. A good lesson. What's the lesson? The lesson is, even if you've lost a piece, your opponent may still have weaknesses, and in fact he may actually weaken his play slightly because he's got the extra piece. He may get overconfident. He may get lazy and overconfident. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but because that may happen, yes, always play on. Believe in it. Believe in yourself. Especially if you've got something as valuable as that light squared bishop that I had, which turned out to be absolute gold, didn't it? Right, well, if you enjoyed that video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will see you all again very soon. Bye for now. Oh, what did that take my rating up to? Yes, I know you wanted to know. 2026, my friends. 2026. See you all soon. Bye for now.